Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, Executive Editor at ClassicsToday.com. You may recall a little while ago, I did a nice little talk on this handy-dandy Art of Nicholas Harnoncourt box. 15 CDs worth of Big Nick. Well, of course, this was taken from the larger complete Sony / Deutsche Harmonia Mundi / PMG recordings box. And a couple of you said, well, golly gee, that big box is still available. And because we're all a bunch of greedy obsessives, why don't you talk about that box? And I thought to myself, well, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. But I decided to bite the bullet and, oh, God, here it is. Here it is, the big box. Yes, 61 CDs and 3 fun-filled DVDs in this giant album coffee table type thing. Actually, it is a coffee table. You just do this and you can put coffee on top of it. It's very, very simple. Anyway, the nice thing about this, it has a nice little back. It tells you what's in there. I don't even have to open it. I can just do it this way if I really want to. In fact, there's some kind of curious things in here, some odd little duplicative thingies, but I also want to show you what's inside. So in order to do that, we have to open it, which is always risky with these things, even though this is a nice flat one. See, here's the box, the outside of the box, and then we have this beautiful hardcover deluxe booklet, which is actually very nice because even though you have no text and translations, which is kind of annoying since most of this is vocal music, we still have a really beautiful book which has sort of all the original liner notes with, track listings for each of the discs and beautiful photos for your Harnoncourt mantelpiece, selection of things. So I think maybe we'll just leaf through the book here like it's story time. And we'll take it from there. And we're just going to go through it. And you don't have to worry, though, even though it's 61 CDs and 3 DVDs, most of them are multi-disc sets. So it's not going to take as long as you think it's going to take. At least I hope it won't. That's the idea. So let's get in here. Once upon a time, there was a strange Viennese ex-cellist, and his name was Nicholas Harnoncourt. And he thought that music would sound much better played on the instruments of the period for which the composer wrote, even though most composers hated the music for the instruments for which they were writing. And they hated the people who played them even more than they hated the instruments themselves. But never you mind. Never you mind. They went back and they did it, and they did some wonderful, wonderful things. Starting with the music of Johann Sebastian Bach. Yes. Okay, Bach, we know. So these were in this box. So I already talked about them. It's a bunch of cantatas. And Harnoncourt's Bach cantatas are always fun. He makes them so much more interesting than you ever thought they could be. Quite frankly, you get Schwingt freudig euch empor, and then Ach, wie flüchtig, Ach, wie nichtig, which basically means, oh crap, everything's awful. Well, actually, that's what most of these cantatas mean. Then you get Wachet auf, ruft uns die Stimme, and Nun kommt der Haydn Heiland, that's a famous one. And Wir danken dir Gott, Wir danken dir. That's in case Gott forgot the first Wir danken dir. So those are those cantatas, and they're very well done. And you have wonderful singers. You've got Christina Schaeffer and Bernarda Fink and Christian Gerhard and Gerald Finley. And oh, yeah, all these famous Bach types. It's wonderful. So then we have to flip ahead past the notes. And we're already on CD3. See how quickly this goes? And you get the Christmas oratorio. And as I said before, Harnoncourt always did a wonderful Christmas oratorio. There is something about the Christmas oratorio that just got his blood racing. And there's just a marvelous, fun performance of it. So that's perfectly fine. Then we have, oh my goodness, George Frederick Handel. We get Alexander's Feast, or Timotheus, or The Power of Music. This is in the 1790 orchestration by Mozart, as revised and expanded by Ignaz Franz von Mosel for the inaugural concert of Vienna's Gesellschaft der Musikfreunde in 1812. Well, this arrangement just sucks. Talk about doing things the way the composer originally intended. Mozart's versions of Handel were just awful. They just softened over all the edges and made the music very sweet and very anodyne and incredibly dull. And, this version is that. Although the performance itself is fun and it's kind of interesting. It's interesting to have this particular version of this particular work. So, I can see it as a novelty, and that's what it is. And for that purpose alone, it's kind of interesting. It's a historical curiosity. Let's just leave it at that. Then we have Harnoncourt's Handel Messiah, which is like his second one, and they both suck. He really did not have a good handle on the... Oh, there you go. It's a pun. A good handle on the Messiah. No, he did not have a good handle on the Messiah. It just has weirdnesses. Things that are very nice and then something very strange, and there doesn't seem to be any logic behind any of it. And normally the logic is suggested by the text, but here, well, sometimes it is or sometimes it isn't. And anyway, there are a million great messiahs, and he just shouldn't have bothered. Next, now this is cool, CD 9, Handel Orlando Paladino. Now, Orlando Paladino is a farce. It's a slapstick comedy that's really genuinely funny. You know the story of Orlando. He's crazy, and there's Alcina, the sorceress, who's turning all of his crusaders into like animals or rocks or something like that. And it's all terribly complicated. And in this particular version, Alcina is not even the bad girl. Orlando is just so nuts. She turns him into everything. She turns him into like a tree and a frog and a rock or whatever, all to calm him down. Finally, she drugs the crap out of him. It's just marvelous. It's very, very funny. And this is easily the best performance. It has a fabulous cast and no text, except you can get the original of just the opera without all this other stuff. And you're in business. And it's got, the singers are very, very good. Wow. Baby, you've got Patricia Pettibon and Christian Gerhaher and Michael Schade and Werner Gura and they're just all very good. And it's really funny and it's just delightful. And it's a wonderful opera. No one ever does it. So what the heck? Great stuff. Great stuff. So that was nice to know. And then we have Haydn, the Paris Symphonies. Oh, this is the reference recording, along with Bernstein's. These two, if you want period instruments, you get this one. If you want normal instruments, you get Bernstein. And the cool thing about it is that they are very, very comparable in terms of their gusto and insane energy and high spirits. This is the best Haydn that Harnoncourt ever did. For some reason, people tend to do the Paris Symphonies quite well and the London Symphonies quite variably, which really tells us something. It's really rather fascinating in terms of Haydn's own growth. It tells us that by the time he got to the London Symphonies, he was just a far more varied and searching artist than any of the people who came later to conduct him. But boy, the Paris Symphonies are great in this set. Oh my God, they're just great. I've reviewed them a million times. Separately, together, they're just unbelievably amazing. So that's that. Hang on a minute. Let's see what's next in our little story. Oh, Haydn the Creation. Oh, no. It's amazing how Harnoncourt can just get the spirit of the music, one moment and then completely blow it the next. This is one of those period instrument performances where everything has like these feminine endings and mannered phrasing, and it's terribly soft-edged, and all the big choruses are anticlimactic, and it's just like his sense of drama just deserted him. And in the previous two works, in Orlando Paladino and the Paris Symphonies, he was just phenomenal. But this is actually a very good picture of him doing the creation. There you go. There he is. Do you really want to hear? Oh, here I am over here. Do you really want to hear, 2 hours of that? I don't think so. So, no. That's a pity. Okay, then we get Haydn the Seasons. Well, this is quite a bit better than the Creation, but still not ideal. It's not terrible. It's not terrible. The Creation's wonderful, but if you want to get period instrument seasons, you've got Gardner, who's quite good, and René Jacob, who's even quite gooder, and more bizarre than Gardner is. But, you've got two really good, at least two period instrument versions. There are actually more than that, but these two will really do you. You're in very good shape. And then we have Mozart Early Symphonies. Now, this is a 3-disc extravaganza, 3-set extravaganza. It's, I think, 2 discs per set, yes. And so we get all the way through CD 24 already. See how quickly this goes with Mozart Early Symphonies. These are very good performances of the Mozart Early Symphonies. There's nothing not to like. The music itself isn't always terribly interesting, but most of it's pleasant enough. And the performances are full of vim and vigor, and they're robust, and they're fine. But then on CDs 25, 26, and 27, we have this, and then 28 and 29, we get this really weird thing, which was not even, I don't think, released in like the West. Hopefully it wasn't the West, English-speaking universe. What you get is the early symphonies. Here we go. Harnoncourt writes, when we recorded Mozart's earliest symphonies, we were simply astounded, flabbergasted, in fact. Are these really the works of a child aged between 8 and 12? And blubbity-blubbity-blub. Anyway, what they do is Harnoncourt takes the role of Papa Mozart, and he has his grandchildren doing little Wolfgang and his sister Nannerl, and they read Mozart's letters. And the father's letters and Nannerl's letters. I mean, they portray the people writing the letters, and they read bits of letters, and then they play bits of the early symphonies, or whole early symphonies sometimes whole things, sometimes just single movements. And they do this for hours. And it was, it might have been cute. Harnoncourt certainly earned the right to do it over his career, but it was really just sort of narcissistic exercise in, musical, not musical, whatever it was. If you've got the early symphonies, you do not need to hear them intermingled with the narration of Mozart's letters, naturalmente auf Deutsch. So I think that, of course, if you're Deutsch, it's fine. But I have a feeling that my Deutsch friends were not exactly whipping these out and throwing them on like a Sunday afternoon when they had nothing better to do either. It was just kind of silly. Then we have more Mozart. Zaida. This is actually really kind of nice. It's a piece of a Singspiel. It wasn't complete, and it's plenty of fun to listen to. And again, you've got Diana Damrau and Michael Schade and all those usual Mozart people. It's very, very good. And then we have, the Post-Horn Serenade. What's not to love? And the Hafner Symphony. These are very good, very enjoyable. A little bit odd in places because Harnoncourt, couldn't resist leaving, he couldn't let something be alone when he could tinker here and there, but they're just wonderful performances. And what's not to love? Then you've got piano concertos, 25 and 23 with Buchbinder, and those are very good. Buchbinder's an excellent Mozartian. And we have more piano concertos. Oh, this is that thing, 24 and 17 with Lang Lang and the Vienna Philharmonic. Which are, they're okay too. They're perfectly good. Nothing to sneer at, you long deniers. He plays very respectfully and quite well. And then we've got more symphonies, 39, 40, and 41, his last Mozart symphony recordings. Now, I like these better than the ones he did with the Concertgebouw because they frankly are a little bit less bizarre, in my opinion. And the playing of the Concertos Musicus Wien is just marvelous, and it's just a wonderful farewell to Wolfgang. Except the real farewell to Wolfgang is here on CD 37, the Mozart Requiem. This is a banging Mozart Requiem. It's fantastic. And I don't even like the Mozart Requiem, but this is a great Mozart Requiem. You can read my review on ClassicsToday.com. I don't usually review Mozart Requiems because I don't really care about the Mozart Requiem, but this is, first of all, it's the Franz Bayer edition, which is the one I like. Second of all, they've got a trombonist who plays that solo in a way that doesn't sound stupid. You've got fantastic singers. Oh, my God. Christina Schaefer, Bernarda Fink, Kurt Streit, and Gerald Finley. I mean, great, great singing. And here, Harnoncourt's, rhetorical stuff, it just works. I mean, his Lacrimosa literally cries, it weeps. And the Confutatus goes crazy, and you don't really notice the Süssmayr bits as being Süssmayr. It really is a wonderful performance. It's terrific. I recommend it very strongly. So that was that. Now, let's see, Mozart Requiem. 38, Beethoven, Christ on the Mount of Olives. What is there to be done with Christ on the Mount of Olives? Christ took a nap on the Mount of Olives, or at least Beethoven did while Christ was there. It's a nice piece, and it's an okay performance, and I just have nothing else to say about it. Some people love it. More power to them. Then we get Beethoven 4 and 5. This was Harnoncourt's, I think, last recording of anything, or his last Beethoven or something. It may have been his last recording of anything. It was 2015, and it's very, very good. Again, it's a lifetime of music and love and laughter and drama, all rolled into one handy little disc. Absolutely excellent. I mean, all of these sort of large and like death mask-like photos of Harnoncourt I could sort of do without, but like I said, if you've got a mantelpiece full of Harnoncourt stuff, you can put it with your Harnoncourt memorabilia. All right, let me see what's going on here now. Did we do the Beethoven? Yeah, the Beethoven. Hang on. With these nice thick, oak tag type pages, which makes the thing hard to turn. Okay, the Mrs. Salemnus. This is an extremely devotional account of the Mrs. Salemnus. It's a good 81 minutes. Bob Levine at ClassicStudio.com adored this performance. He thought it was such a marvelous sort of, sacramental act. And I don't disagree. It is not a Mrs. Salemnus if you want like the excitement and insanity of the piece, actually. But for reverence and I think spiritual intensity, he actually pulls it off. It's almost as if, Carillon suddenly became sincere. And it just works, probably because the balances are so splendid between the orchestra and the chorus and the soloists. I mean, you really hear all the polyphonic lines, and he doesn't have to exaggerate them or pull it all over the place to make his points. It's very, very good. Then we've got Schumann, Das Paradies und die Peri, the Oratorio. This is actually a better piece than you might think it is. I mean, Schumann's choral works, everybody would sooner die than listen to. This is an interesting piece. It's very lovely. It's got beautiful arias and some great stuff in it. And this is a very fine performance, especially because you've got Dorothea Roschmann, yes, as the Peri, or the fairy. She makes a great fairy. She's just one. Bernarda Fink as the angel, and Christian Gerhaher as Gazna. I mean, who else would you rather have sing Gazna? I mean, Can you see that in his resume? He was Gazna in Schumann's, Das Paradies und die Peri. Do you actually think anyone would know what that is? Right. But he's a great Gazna. Absolutely. Let's see. Was that what that was? Yeah. Okay. Disc 43. The Verdi Requiem. Oh, does this suck? Oh, my God. I talked about it in here. We already talked about it. It was wretched beyond all imagining. It is the most anodyne, smushed around, totally unidiomatic. And, sometimes unidiomatic can be great. Here it's just boring. Horrid. Then we've got Bruckner 5. Well, this is great. It's a great Bruckner 5. With the Vienna Phil, what's not to love? Absolutely terrific. And then we got Bruckner 9 with the lecture demo for fragments of the finale, which I really like. I think that's the best way to hear the Bruckner 5 if you care about the finale, Bruckner 9, pardon me, if you care about the finale, because Harnoncourt's discussion is very straightforward, and he plays all the different bits of it, and you can hear that it was going to be terrible. Even if Bruckner had finished it, it would have been lousy, but you hear what it was, and that's the important thing. It really is. And I think it's really the most honest way to present it. And I have no problem with it. It's an excellent Bruckner 9. It really is, in all other respects. Oh, and there's a part called A Sudden Vision of Death. Yeah, because the lecture demonstration, by the way, is in both German and then he does it in English, which is really very considerate and it makes it worth listening to if you're not a natural native German speaker. Oh, then we've got Smitten, I've lost. First class. Oh, Harnoncourt was so good with Czech music. He really was. I mean, he really shouldn't have done the Viennese people. He should have stuck with the Slavic people. I think he just had a little bit more fun with it, and it somehow, didn't induce him to be just weird. You know what I mean? He didn't feel like, it was like Beethoven. He was intimidated by the March of Giants behind him. Harnoncourt sort of felt impelled to do things with the German stuff that he didn't feel as impelled to do with the Czech stuff. And it's very good. It's a great Mavlost. Hang on a minute. Now we have we have musical examples in here. Look. Vergangenheit und Zukunftsvision. Past and future vision. They get quite a note here. Well worth reading. It really is. I mean, it's terrific. So, and, wonderful, exposition of what Smitten was up to. And boy, it's in like 3 languages, so it goes on forever. And then we've got, Brahms' German Requiem, a snooze. A snooze. It's like the Verdi Requiem. It's just too requiem-ish. We do not need that kind of requiosity. We just do not. It is deathly. I mean, not really. It just has dead spots. Too many dead spots. And then we've got the Dvorak Stabat Mater. Well, it's Czech, so it's really, really good. Also, it's the Bavarian Radio Symphony Orchestra and Choir. And of course, they have a stunningly fabulous choir. And the orchestra is wonderful. And it's not a group that Harnoncourt conducted all that often. So it might have been that he had to do a little bit of like meeting them halfway and not being as like demented as he might otherwise would have been with some other people. But it's a fantastic Dvorak Stabat Mater. And then we've got Bartók, the music for strings, percussion, and celesta, and the divertimento for strings. Well, the divertimento was much better than music for S, P, and C. Music for S, P, and C is just a little bit too slow and a little bit too soft-edged. It just needs more bite, more ferocity. It's interesting, of course, to hear what Harnoncourt does with it. Just like it's interesting to watch, a little kid manipulate a ball of Play-Doh to see what's going to come out. But in the divertimento, he's far more direct, and I think it's a much simpler work. And so I don't think he feels quite impelled to put his own personal stamp on it in the same way that he did S, P, and C. But, he stamps everything. He's got a stamp. Stamps. But next, here it is. The pièce de résistance. Porgy and Bess. You heard it. Porgy and Bess. Apparently, Harnoncourt loved Porgy and Bess. And so he felt like he needed to record it. Now, I have to tell you a funny little story. At ClassicsToday.com, we did a lot of, we do April Fool's reviews, which are now called We Only Wish, is the title of the review. And if you're an insider member, go to the special insider advanced search form and look under review categories, because We Only Wish is there, and you could read our April Fool's reviews, and they're very, very funny. And if you're not a Classics Today Insider member, do please sign up, because then you can read all of the We Only Wish April Fool's reviews. Anyway, I was going to do, I think I did do, I might have even done a Harnoncourt does Gershwin. I thought it was going to be an April Fool's joke. But holy crap! Out came Porgy and Bess before I could even do it. As I said at the time, there's nothing so bizarre that you can imagine that a major label won't beat you to the punch. It was unbelievable. And but the sad thing about this Porgy and Bess is that it's just boring. It's not bad. It's just for Harnoncourt. Look at who we're talking about. The Harnoncourt. It's almost totally faceless. It's respectful to the point of tedium. It's as if he wants to show it's just real music and I can play it as boringly as any of the standard German classics. And I was so hoping he would do it with, an all-white German-speaking cast. Now that would have been interesting. I mean, I really wanted to see, Regie Theater, that sort of thing applied to Porgy and Bess to make it truly European. My suggestion was they move it to a nuclear power plant in Latvia staffed by cross-dressing lesbians, because German theatrical directors love lesbians. They cannot get enough lesbians. And it would be fabulous to hear, Bess, du bist mein Hausfrau neu. Just be marvelous. Or, Sommerzeit und die Leben ist einfach. Die Fisch, die sind springen und die Baumwolle ist hoch. I mean, can you imagine? It would be marvelous. Just marvelous. Or what is the one? Es ist nicht unbedingt so. Es ist nicht unbedingt so. Die Sache, dass sie wahrscheinlich im Bibel zu sehen, es ist nicht unbedingt so. I mean, I would have so loved to see that. But instead, we just have a boring performance of Porgy and Bess. And that's just pity of it. Oh, well. In fact, I think my version was much more interesting than Harnoncourt's. And I hope you agree. I really hope you agree. Okay, well, where are we here? Oh, yes, Harnoncourt calls it the American Wozzeck. Okay, oh, it's so wonderful. If he'd only played it like the American Wozzeck, then we would have had something. Then we get a New Year's concert from 2003 with all the usual junk. And then we get Waltz Revolution, which is Mozart and Johann Strauss I and Joseph Lanner, Viennese dance music. Then we get the DVDs. We get the Zauber Flüti with Georg Zeppenfeld and Mandy Friedrich and Bernhard Richter and Julia Kleiter and Marcos Verba, and I can't even watch it. And Mission Mozart. This is Long and Nicholas Harnoncourt doing their Mozart CD, of which I just spoke, with Concerti 17 and 24. Now that is painful. You'd have to be out of your mind to spend any time watching that. And that's DVD 3. What was DVD 1? DVD 1? Oh, DVD 2 was both. 1 and 2 were the Magic Flute. 2 DVDs, of course. Silly moi. So that, my friends, is Harnoncourt, the Complete Columbias. Now, as you can tell, there are some wonderful, wonderful things in it. Marvelous things. Orlando Paladino, the Paris Symphonies, Mozart Symphonies and the Requiem. That's like a good chunk of it right there. His last Beethoven 4 and 5 and the Missa Salemnus. The Dvorak stuff, all the Dvorak stuff, the Stabat Mater, Ma Vlast, the Bruckner stuff is very, very, very good. Most of the Bach is quite good. So yeah, I mean, it's still around. It's really not terribly expensive. I guess it's $100 and some odd bucks for 61 CDs. Naturally, some of them are going to be like blah, and some of them are really blah, like the Verdi Requiem and some other things like that. But it's a pretty splendid legacy. By any stretch of the imagination, a marvelous legacy. And so if you didn't get it, and this is not enough for you, these 15 CDs, then by all means, go for it. Go for it and take your time. Just enjoy it. Except I would not be in a rush to hear Das Porgy und die Bess. That is not something that I think you're going to want to spend much time with. But who knows? Who knows? Keep on listening, folks. Thanks for joining me. Take care.